Hi guys. So a lot of students before starting their journey for MBA prep, right, are confused about whether they should write GRE or GMAT. This is a very common question that comes to our mind, right? So there are many schools of thought or many thought processes behind it. I just here have a different way of thinking about it. Let me present that to you, and maybe that helps you in making that decision. So see, the idea is instead of thinking about the exam and then going into preparation for that, my thinking is that we should understand ourselves, we should understand our strengths as a student, okay, and pick an exam that suits our strengths. Okay, what does that mean? So let me just take a cricket example here. Say if you have a team which is which has great spinners, then perhaps you should prepare a pitch, right, which is spin friendly, right? Vice versa, if you have great fast bowlers in your team, right, then it is better that you prepare a pitch that suits fast bowlers, right? Similarly, depending on your strengths and weaknesses, right, pick an exam that suits you, all right, so that when there is synergy in your personality and the exam requirement, right, the preparation will become the journey of the preparation will become much easier and happier for you. Okay, now what do I mean by this is that, see, we can break it into, say, three important aspects. First, see, GRE was initially used for MS programs, and GMAT used to be for MBA programs. However, post COVID, a lot of colleges have started accepting GRE for their MBA program. Having said that, the first thing you should still do is go to the website of the college that you are interested in applying to. See what does that college prefer. Like, do they prefer GMAT for their MBA applications, or do they prefer GRE, or they don't have any preference? Because if they do prefer GMAT, then the decision is already made. Okay. However, if they don't have any preference, then we move to point number two and three. Point number two is, let's get to the verbal sections of it. Okay, so verbal section of GRE and GMAT. Now, say you are someone who's not good at verbal, okay, but obviously you still want to write the exam and excel at it, get good marks so that you can apply to good colleges, right? Then understand yourself and ask, am I someone who's very good at memorization, right? Like, are you good at memorizing stuff? Okay, because see, the reason we have to think about this is GRE, 45% of the questions are vocabulary based. Okay, why? You need to understand the language, but unless you memorize the words, unless you know the meaning of those words, right, there is no point attempting such questions, right? So only if you think you are someone who's very comfortable with memorizing a lot of words, right, you should opt for GRE, because the verbal section will be much easier for you. Also, the passages are much shorter, right? So if you don't have a reading habit, right, and you find verbal tough in general, GRE might be the way for you. Okay, on the other hand, if you are someone who has reading habit, who has been reading novels, books, or because of your work culture or workplace are now comfortable at reading long texts, okay, then you might find GMAT a much easier exam, or the verbal section of GMAT much easier than GRE. Okay, because the verbal section of GMAT is made up of reading comprehension and critical reasoning. Both of these require reading text information and understanding it in depth. Okay, so if you are someone who's good at that, then GMAT verbal might be an easier section for you. Finally, coming on to quants, right? Again, if you are someone who's afraid of math or has not studied math in a long time or cannot do calculations for that matter very quickly, right? But you are comfortable with doing math where the questions are formula based, okay? Again, you can memorize the formulas and then you can just solve questions based on that. In that case, GRE is again another exam that the quant section you will find easier, because first of all the questions are a bit formula based. Second, you get a calculator during the exam, on-screen calculator, so you don't have to worry about calculations as such. On the contrary, you are someone who's good at math, right, and you believe or you feel that your forte is application of concept, in the sense GMAT also you do need to learn the formulas, but the questions are more about application of those concepts. So if you are someone who feels that once they understand something, they are comfortable in applying that, okay, concept to various situations, then GMAT math is something that you might find easier. Okay. All right, guys. I'm keeping it very short and simple. Okay. You don't have to, overthink it. It's a very simple thing. Understand what is your personality. Understand whether what things you are good at, things you are bad at. Right. Play to your strengths is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Identify your strengths, look at the 3 pointers, okay? Namely, does the college even accept GRE for MBA application or not? Second, what sort of verbal section or what sort of verbal questions are you comfortable preparing for? Finally, math, okay? Understand these and then pick, okay, the exam that you want to prepare for, okay? I hope this helps you make your decision in an easy manner, right? All the best for your friend.